Great.
Okay, good evening everyone. This is Macclesfield Town Council's Services Committee. Quite a warm town hall. It's been quite a nice day over the past few days, so may long it continue. So we are here to discuss the agenda set before us. So if we start with apologies for absence.
We have Councillor Janet Jackson and Councillor Neil Patek.
Thank you. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Councillor Welly Walk.
I declare a non-pecuniary interest in Macclesfield Pride. My wife's the co-chair and I'm a volunteer for my sins, so I might talk to that when it comes up on the agenda.
Thank you. I'm going to declare a non-pecuniary interest in agenda item 8.1, street furniture, being a member of St Michael's Church. Okay, so we'll move on to agenda item 3, which is the minutes of the Services Committee meeting held on the 25th of April 2022. I'm going to approve the minutes.
I'll move them as an accurate record, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Sorry, do I have a seconder?
Yeah.
Councillor Livingston, all those in favour? Thank you. And item 4, do we have any matters arising from those minutes at all?
Yes, please, Chair.
Councillor Wilson.
Yes, I have a matter arising, please, under agenda item 6.8, Barnaby Air, brackets formerly Ridux. We discussed the report from the Barnaby Group and we asked for more information, which we haven't received for this meeting. I'm sure the clerk can update us when we get to agenda item 6.8. But myself and Councillor Patek also offered, as we can see in the minutes, to offer support for the consultation on the South Ward, which is our ward. And I so far have heard nothing from Barnaby Air. I think consultation is very important and that's something we can stand ready to assist with. But we haven't heard anything. And because the project should have finished in June 2022 and it's now July, maybe the clerk wants to answer those questions under agenda item 6.8, but I did want to point out that that was agreed at the last meeting and we haven't had the report as far as I am aware.
Councillor Wilson, do you have an update on that?
So I have received the report now. I received it today and I haven't had a huge chance to go through it, so I will address those issues once I've had time to digest the report, because I don't want to rush it. I want to look at it properly, and I will send it out to the Services Committee to see as well. If that's okay, Councillor Wilson.
Yes, thank you for the update. I appreciate you've not had a chance to have a look at it, but I will have a look myself to see, because we're very keen to support consultations on our ward, as you would expect.
I will say I do believe the consultation on the moss has happened, and we were not aware of it. But I will just let me double check that, and I'll send you the report too.
Well, I would just respond to that then by saying that it hasn't been very visible then.
Yes.
As a councillor on the ward, I wasn't aware of it. So.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Any other matters arising from the minutes, or are you happy with that? No. Okay. So moving on to agenda item 5, community. We've got community engagement update, so it's to receive and note the updated report.
So we've got a few events coming up. In particular, the Mayor's Civic event that's coming up in August. I jumped ahead.
Yes.
It's 5.1.
Okay. So I can pick that up in the absence of the assistant town clerk. So basically, as the report says, one of the key things that's been really, really helpful is the town centre community event meetings, where people come together and share their reports and ideas. And what we've noticed now is that if some events, like for instance the Bike-A-Thon, they'll come along while that event's happening and then sort of go out of it again, and then there'll be other event people coming in. And I'm sure that Mac Pride, Councillor Bennett Wake, joined in those meetings, and it's really helpful to see. I just think it brings that spirit of learning what each other can do for each other, and we're hosting and facilitating these meetings. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it's once a quarter, or is it
once a month, roughly?
Once a month,
yeah.
So it's even more often. So it just gives us a greater scope of knowing what's going on, we can help people, but also we're learning too, and hopefully the groups are learning from each other.
Just a point in there as well, it's almost the same. We had a meeting of that kind last Monday at the Finance Committee,
Yes.
where we had quite a lot of different community groups coming together that could interlink, which
Yes.
just
It does, it works very, very well. We've had a defib installed at the green on the corner, and the lockable door has now been paid for, so that should help with the defib going. But I think when the defib goes, a lot of people think it's been stolen or messed with. Quite often it's been used, and it's you know, quite good. Well, not good that it's been used, but good that it was there to be used.
Yeah.
They're all badged up now with how to get it home to us. So we've got it back, and there'll be a lockable one at the green in the corner.
The door
soon.
has arrived today,
Oh,
Clark.
there you go. So it'll be going on soon. Our assistant town clerk has been attending the Allotment Society AGM, which was very interesting for her, learning lots about allotments and how other people do things. And I'm pleased to say that she felt our allotments and the way we do things actually, in comparison to some others, where they have lots of issues, is going rather well. And we have also recently let another allotment that nobody wanted on Park Grove. We keep strimming it and lending it to people, giving it to people they say they want it, and then they don't use it. That's happened 3 or 4 times now. So we've used that extra allotment. We've given it to basically to be used by some Ukrainian refugees, and it was easier to give it to Grow Macclesfield because they have the insurances, the safeguard and everything in place, but they will be the ones using it, and they're already working on it. So that's called the Garden of Hope. So that's like a sort of extra bit that's come out of all the work we've been doing. And just again on the community, we're seeing an increase in the grant applications, as you will have seen last week at Finance. And the Town Council attended a Meet the Funder event. So we're getting out there more and more people are asking us questions and coming to us about different projects they're doing.
fabulous. Just in relation to the allotments, I know we've got the allotments a little bit further down, but it's good that we're able to expand what we've got to how the Ukrainians that have moved into Macclesfield to potentially call home. Councillor Livingston?
Yeah, Chair, thank you for that. Thanks, delighted to see that we can help Ukrainian refugees. I think Grow Macclesfield in South Park and the work they've done has been first class. I think it shows how you can transform and use unused allotments for the benefit of the community. So I think it's been a great success of engagement with them.
Any other councillors just commented on that or not? No. So we'll move on to 5.2, which is CVSCE, which is Community and Voluntary Services in Cheshire East. Again, just to receive and note the updated report. Any other comments or questions? No. Oh, sorry, Councillor Wilson, thank you.
Well, just to say once again, Chair, what an excellent report it is, and what a good project this is that we were engaging with the Community and Voluntary Services Cheshire East. And I think our ambition when we started this off was that we wanted to spread around as widely as possible the information about the grants we have available. And I think that that the culmination of that was seen very clearly at our Services Committee meeting a week ago tonight, when of the 12 groups who were applying for a grant from the Town Council, out of those 12, 11, when requested, sent along a speaker to talk to us about their particular project, and what a fantastic meeting it was. And they were all networking furiously together and chatting to each other, and I was very impressed with the fact that so many of them were talking about how their event fitted in with our strategic plan for the future. They'd clearly thought very hard about their events, and clearly we've got our strategic plan right in terms of the fact that people can point to it and say, yes, well, we're going to do this, and it all fits in with what you've got planned. So I felt that from a community point of view, we are getting it right. So another good report. I don't know whether Councillor Bennett-Waite wants to comment about the Ukrainian refugee meeting we had, because that was very useful and attended by some speakers, and I think that Councillor Bennett-Waite and I felt afterwards that Refugee Welcome, who are a charity in Macclesfield who've long supported refugees from the Syrian refugees who initially came, They are a charity, they are registered, they've got experience, and you know, they were there and they spoke with passion about the work they are doing and the experience they have, and I thought it was a very, very worthwhile meeting.
Yeah, if I may, Chair. Yeah, and it was really good for people to meet up and to share best practice and ideas. Different people have different ways of doing. Some groups collect resources and send them over to the Ukraine. Other groups have set up on their own to help people over with personal contacts. And as Councillor Wilson, should I say Madam Mayor, said, Refugees Welcome is an established charity, and I've started to volunteer there on a Saturday morning. Because of my experience with children, you just do a bit of colouring in and they come to you. So it's lovely, and it's good that they know you're there as a councillor, to be on hand to just put that councillor word in front of your name, so people give you an answer. So I've been there a couple of times. I've just been able to ring somebody from Cheshire East, and then you know, a message has got through, so that's quite handy. I'm making connections with schools and so on, and just showing people a bit of moral support, and also, as Councillor Livingston has said, and Grow Macclesfield have done, is showing the Ukrainian refugees that they're welcome here and they can grow radishes.
So moving on, we've got local service delivery. So 6.1 is the events update, and I will hand over to the events officer.
So the first one is Parkfit. Abby, do you want to talk about Parkfit?
Yes, I'm not gonna move, because then I'll just have to come back. Just to say that Parkfit has returned to its home in South Park. The first session we had 21 people. Second session was 31. Third session was 29. We then had a week off because Matt had an injury, and we're a bit concerned about coming back last week, just wondering if that momentum had been lost. But we had 28 people again, including Councillor Livingston. I don't know whether you want to let people know what you thought.
Yeah, I think it's a great activity. I think getting activity into South Park is very important, particularly after 5 o'clock. I think it's great to be exercising outdoor. I think it's a really good session. It's not an easy session for those who haven't done it. You certainly, if you do a few park fits, you will be fit. I think that would be fair. So I think it's great for supporting this, and just by extension, the stuff that they run for the children on the same night is actually very good as well, because my youngest son goes as well. So I think it's worthwhile, the activity we're doing.
So the next two are the Eco update and the Bike-A-Thon, which were both before my time.
Yeah, I'll do a quick one on that. So the Eco update happened in May and was well attended, with about 28 people coming along, and we're now starting to think about the next Eco Summit in October. So we've had a planning meeting with regards to that, and we're continuing with those as well. Bike-A-Thon is the event organised by All Good Cycling in support of Just Drop In. As you can see from the report, Darren from All Good just said what a great event it was, and they've raised over £6,000 this year for Just Drop In, which is incredible.
So is the Jubilee celebrations. Obviously we had events across the weekend, with the 2 days having very different weather systems going on, but all the events went ahead. There's individual reports from all the different wards and events that went on, but the general consensus is that everyone was very happy to have had an event in their ward, an event within walking distance, and they seem to have been well attended and good response all around, so it's good for the future.
The consensus, do we shut the door and get warm? or do we hope that is it?
We'll leave the door open and not get warm. Or a shout.
And then coming up to upcoming events, we obviously had Macclesfield the weekend before last, and Macclesfield Pride weekend just gone. both seem to have gone very well. We've seen a lot of people in the town centre, very positive.
Councillor Wilson.
Yes, I was just comment on Macclesfield, the Comic Arts Festival. Both myself and Councillor Wilcock, in his role as Deputy Mayor, attended this event. Chris opened the event for Macclesfield in the morning because I was busy being run director at Park Run that day. But I attended in the afternoon and was very welcomed by the stallholders. Mark Jackson was there, and also Adam Schofield, who's been supporting the event. And I have to say that the town hall was packed with people. It was fantastic to see our town hall being used like that. There was all sorts of things going on. Kids were making cartoons. Actually using cameras to make those, like, you know, moving cartoons. When I was a kid, you had to write on a bit of paper and flick through it. It's all very technological now. But town was absolutely busy. You know, everywhere, all the independent cafes, they were all full of people. And I just want to say that, you know, we need to have more events like that at the town hall. And I think we should redouble our efforts to talk to Cheshire East Council about this, because as far as I'm concerned, if the town hall regularly has meetings in it, and there's people coming into our town and they're using and supporting all the independent businesses, it surely will bring more revenue in if the rooms are used far more frequently. And they're so infrequently events here because of the cost of hiring the assembly room. One would think if the assembly room was cheaper, it would be busier, and we would have, maybe I'm being a simple soul, I suppose, but town was absolutely heaving, and it was brilliant. There's loads of things going on, it's really exciting.
I was just going to say, it's worth for viewers remembering that Macclesfield Town Council actually support Macclesfield financially to make that happen. Like you say, increase that footfall into town that day. And I know when we come to the footfall figures, there will be an update, but it's worth mentioning that there was it 1,000 extra people in town that Saturday of Macclesfield?
There you go.
So it shows. I know it's a bit simplified, but you could actually probably quite confidently say it was because of that event.
Sorry, Councillor William.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo what Madam Mayor said. Do I call you Madam Mayor when you're not chilling?
I don't know, really, I don't mind. Whatever you prefer.
It was amazing that the Macclesfield event I didn't go to because I was volunteering with Macclesfield Pride in the hub in the Grosvenor. And people, young people especially, were coming out of the Macclesfield event and then going into the hub. So people were just like kind of having a good taste of all the different variety of things that are going on in the town. And then the event this Saturday, the Macclesfield Pride event, was absolutely brilliant. I mean, the weather was kind to us. You know, there was a few hiccups with bins and stuff. I emptied most of the bins for my sins. I know I can get a job on the bins now. Just need more PPE. But apart from that, you know, it was a brilliant atmosphere, and what was so impressive was the amount of schools and local groups that took part. The delight on children's faces, but also for me, and I said this in the speech at the end, was that there were children there that I'd worked with in primary school who had now become their true selves, and feeling very confident about that as well. And that was an absolute delight. I didn't hear or see any, there was nothing, no homophobia. I've been to some pride events where you will get a huddle of people who will shout abuse at you. And there was nothing like that. Everyone had a really good time. And all the independent bars and eating places and so on seemed to be heaving. And the only sort of factual information that I know from a food shop was Greg's, that was next door to the hub, said they were as busy as they were at Christmas. So I don't know about the rest of the town, but there was certainly enough rubbish. We were told to put it in the butter market, so I apologise for the mess now. Happy to put the wellies on and clean up. And thank you to Councillor Fiona Wilson, Madam Mayor, for starting Pride and finishing it at the end. She jumped on stage at the end, ran. It was fantastic. And there's a lot of hard work went into that, and you know, as thinking the finance committee, the Pride committee members, you know, thank the town hall team as well for their help and support and those meetings as well. So we must be doing something right because we're getting these events off the ground. They're interconnecting, and you know, we even had Congleton Pride come down. We did a podcast with them. It was just like plug Macclesfield. Just come to Macclesfield. It's marvellous. Yeah, shut up.
Can I just say one word, please? I'm leaving not because it's uninteresting, but I can't follow the meeting at all. It sounds like mumbling from a lot of people. The person who I could follow all the way through was this lady who's got at the back to me. I could follow her all the way through, and more often than not the clerk. But the rest of you can't be heard there the way you're speaking now. And so I'm going because it's pointless. Okay?
Do you want to come closer?
Hey?
Why don't you move your chair
No,
closer?
it's all right. Thank you.
I think you were speaking when you finished.
Yeah.
Just to put another point in relation to MacPow, so I did open the event, but personally as well, from where I'm sat, it was quite nice that the town hall was being used, but there were other things going on within the town. There was Waterstones, there was the library and other places, so it was almost as if MacPow were concentrating on the town hall, but obviously encouraging people to go a bit further afield, possibly go into more of the independent retailers, etc. So yeah, no, it was fantastic. Moving on, so
Can I just comment on Pride as well, please, before we move on from Pride?
yeah, sorry.
But I think Councillor Livingstone's been waiting for a while. So
I do apologise.
So I think fellow councillors have spoken eloquently about this, but just the point about using the town hall more often in events in the town centre. I think there was also an art exhibition in here for a week, and it was really, really busy. And what that does is bring people in. So I think, yes, anything we can do to encourage Cheshire East just to be a bit more sensible about it, so that it's used more often, because it's a great location. It's right in the middle of the town, and it actually, the number of rooms within it, you can actually use it quite well.
Maybe something in the South Bank to push Cheshire East Council on, possibly.
Absolutely. As usual.
Councillor Wilson.
Yes, I just wanted to say a few more words about Pride, because of course it was 2019 was the last time we had Pride in Macclesfield, and then there had to be an interregnum because of COVID. And I also want to congratulate the Pride Committee for organising such a brilliant and accessible event. Walking down Chestergate with my consort Brian and Councillor Bennett Wake at the head of the parade, walking through those thousands of people. It was just so brilliant to see so many people in town. And I don't know whether you've seen on my Mayor of Macclesfield Facebook page, I managed to post a video of all the people who were there. And it was really exhilarating to speak to a crowd that size. I'd forgotten what it was like from a previous life. I just really, really enjoyed doing it. And I think that we brought to the town centre masses and masses of business. And that is good too, the celebrating the diversity and the importance of pride and people feeling themselves and being in the right place in their minds and their bodies. But it was just brilliant. And Sarah, Councillor Bennett Wake finished it off brilliantly. Even when she had me screaming, running to pause. I'm here.
Our next event is the Mayor's Civic event, which is the picnic in South Park on the 13th of August. So for that we've got 3 local food and drink vendors serving free food and drink for the first 400 people. We've also got 3 local charities that are working with us to provide entertainment and activities. So it should be a nice community event, working with local vendors and local charities for local people.
And it's worth just adding that this will also include the opportunity to consult with the public on the South Park Pavilion, where we will have several designs that the public can come and give their opinion on.
Thank you.
And then we have Old Person's Day coming up. I've got a provisional meeting about that in the next couple of weeks, so we're looking forward to putting that back on again this year. The Nature Needs You / Welly Walk event, which is in partnership with Macclesfield. So we've got the Welly Walk going on in West Park, and Macclesfield will be leading a talk in St Mike's. So it will be a joint event for us this year. And then we go into the Christmas events, which will be Tree of Light, late night shopping, and the Christmas lights event.
So yeah.
Yeah, we've under this agenda item 6.2, we've got a report to ask us to consider the format of the 2022 main Christmas event in the town centre prepared by our events team. We've been asked to take a decision on option 1, which is a full day packed with festive entertainment for the Christmas parade, etc. With the lights coming on in the afternoon for people to enjoy throughout the event, which is very similar or the same as what we did last year, or a day of festive entertainment, stage performances, street performers, and then an official switch on time. So we're being asked to decide which of those two options we like. I would personally like to speak on behalf of option 1. I think option 1 gave us the footfall all during the day, brought people into town all during the day. I think our events team have to be congratulated on. We were one of the very few town councils that organised and delivered a COVID-safe event as promised and as advertised. Despite criticism that we weren't doing this, that or the other, we did deliver the event we planned because we planned it to be safe for our residents. I do personally feel that having a busy day for our traders for the whole day, rather than having an advertised, if you have an advertised switch on, people will come for that event, but they won't come for the whole of the day. And I think, you know, we owe it to our independent traders and the businesses in Macclesfield to do the very level best we can to bring people into Macclesfield for the switch on event. So for that reason, and of course I don't want to be gloomy, but we don't know what's going to be happening with COVID in the autumn. I hope that, you know, it continues to be open and we can, you know, do activities as we are able to now. But I do think we've got the evidence here that our event last year, this is feedback from traders on the day, was busier throughout the whole day rather than just for the hour of the switch on. And I think that is a key thing for us to consider when deciding about the switch on timing. I mean, the rest of the event has been outlined by the apprentice team, is very similar. It's really the issue of what time, whether you switch your lights on at a pre-advised time or not. And I would say, on last year's experience, not.
No, I don't apologise. Councillor Livingston.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Wilson. I think that a whole day event that also will deal with the potential increase in COVID at that time of year, plus the flu season, makes sense because we can do it regardless. I think that we will be criticised by some people no matter what we do. But I think that's the best balance in terms of it. And I think it's like the same conversation we've had. Anything that brings trade into the town and allows the retailers to maximise footfall has got to be encouraged.
Yeah, I marked option 1 before I came, and I agree with both the councillors that it just seems to be, it seemed much better. It's last year, isn't it? Last year, that when we did it throughout the whole day, and it was something for everybody on the day rather than people just crowding around the tree at a certain time. And I think you've not just got to think about all these different COVID variants, but you know, you've always got the flu season in winter, and you've got winter vomiting bugs as well, which are never very pleasant. I just think it'd be better all round for the town, and for people's health and safety as well.
Thank you. Do you need to vote on this?
Yes.
Yes. So,
Do we to formally move option 1 then, Chair?
yeah, I was going to say we need a proposal.
I formally move option 1 then, Chair.
Thank you very much.
I'm happy to second.
I'll second it. Thank you very much. All in favour of option 1 as preferred choice? There we go. So we'll go for option 1, which is the same format as last year.
Yeah.
So 6.3 is floral displays. To receive and know the updated reports. I don't know if I'm missing something. Don't seem to have it.
I think it's a report contained in
It's not a separate one.
the upcoming
Yeah,
events
it's just
update.
after
It's just after the
Oh,
Christmas
sorry,
lights
yes.
switch
I
off,
apologise for finding it.
So,
Yeah, somebody who can.
yeah, so as you know, AMSA do quite a large portion of our floral displays, and we've been working hard with them. There was a few issues last year, and especially particularly our lead ranger Andy. He's been quality checking all the way through, and I think the flowers are looking great. I think the hanging baskets and the barrier planters are looking fantastic, and we've certainly started to get compliments about them again, which is fantastic. The rangers, we've added some more, our rangers have added some more little baskets to in front of the new town hall, which are blooming. Everything is blooming, and we will be having judges from Britain in Bloom soon. So that's where all our focus is, with flowers, with the community groups. And obviously when the judges come, we have them for 2 hours, and we have so much we could show them. We could keep them here for 2 weeks and still have stuff to show them. So as much as we want to include everybody, we can't, and we've had to make some tough decisions, but we have included everybody in as many people as we can in the portfolio, which has been given to our judges. So yeah, the floral displays in there, everything is looking good. We will be at next full council, there will be a report on tendering out flowers, because it will be, this is the final year with ANZA, so there will be a report there to put out a tender for a further 2 years with a possible extension for full council.
I was going to say, just to know, you mentioned the hanging baskets. From what I read on social media, it looks like the hanging baskets were so popular that they were removed. I don't know if they were put back in the original ones or no.
There was 2 that were taken from the roundabout outside Halfords, and whoever did it was very careful, actually in a good way, not to destroy the planted. We put a nice plant on the roundabout, but they'd stolen them carefully. So there's silver linings, let's be fair, but obviously we have now got, they're more secure now. So, yeah.
Thank you.
And just also on the Britain in Bloom, we have had Heritage Walk now has a little, like a board in it with some history. So if anybody's walking through Heritage Walk, there is the town council and a volunteer has subsidised paying for this very interesting board and pictures of the history of Heritage Walk. So that's in place as well. That was one of the things Britain and Bloom previously said would be a good idea. So we've looked back and implemented some of these things.
And again, just in relation to Britain in Bloom, the wildflower it does look good, but you can see why the sun doesn't shine as well.
You can, and for next year we are already building a list of, and I've spoken to Highways, we want to do more. Not only do people love it, it saves costs on the mowing, which means that the people who are mowing can go and do something else. You know, so it's gone very, very well, and we plan to do more of it, and there was, I think something else coming.
Yeah, I'd just like to just make a little comment to your comment, Councillor Wilson. You mentioned obviously there are areas where it hasn't grown because of the trees. Obviously when we sowed it, the trees weren't in full leaf, so it's hard to work it out, but Andy's now plotted those areas, and when we come to do it next year, they will be planted with a shade mix, so that will come more to life than the planted areas.
I also believe that there may be some other areas that wards that might maybe want some wildflowers as well. So fingers crossed that Highways can see what good work we've done, and then hopefully allow us to do a bit more next year possibly.
The people we've worked with on Highways on this have been super receptive and super supportive. So I would be hopeful, and I would say that this there is some prep in the land to do, but it's actually quite an easy project.
Mhm.
So I would definitely say we should do a lot more of it.
Yep. Any other comments? Sorry. So 6.4 is public toilets. There isn't a note. Just
We are still pursuing it very much so, working with Cheshire East and also still chasing the land outside W.H. Smith, maximising every opportunity we can. So we are still pushing this along we know, we are completely aware that when Marks and Spencer's shut, people are worried, very aware of that, and doing everything we can to get full use public toilets in the town.
again, as the report stating that waiting a feasibility report from Cheshire East Council just to see where we are hoping for the change in places to go. Hopefully that's get the green light, hopefully. So 6.5 is festoon lights. Look at the agenda, there's no issues to report from there. So we'll move on to 6.6, Jordan Gate tree lights.
Yes, it says we've had a tree report and they confirm the lights are safe, so they'll be putting back on the trees. The rangers have cleaned them, and they'll be going back up.
Brilliant, thank you.
They may already be back up.
We've got a date, I think it's next week.
Fabulous. And then 6.7 is the Tunnicliffe Trail.
The assistant town clerk manages this and she's still pursuing different planning permissions, etc.
Local service 6.8 is Barnaby Air, formerly Redux.
Yes.
So we've already covered that off in the minutes. Thank you.
The report was late, so
Yeah.
it couldn't be on the agenda.
No, that's fine. Just confirm, is everyone happy with that we've already covered that off the moment? Yeah. All being well, was the town clerk did mention that she will be circulating the report once you've had a look through for us. Yeah, thank you. So item 7, which is leisure and outdoor activities. So 7.1 is parks and play areas.
So the Western Park, we'll go through the Western Park has the equipment or is being installed. Councillor Hutchison is keeping an eye on it, and then there will be a little tender going out for some artwork when we've completely decided which parts we want to be done. We thought we'd wait for the equipment to go in first. We haven't had an ANZA meeting we've kind of missed one, various reasons, COVID, illness, people away, so we'll be reinstating them very, very soon, where we'll be able to pick up on the windmill park that they're looking for. They're putting together a plan for how this could be. We've committed £26,500 to the skate park at the BMX track at Windmill Park. Obviously the South Park Master Plan is still out for consultation that everybody can get involved with, and Banbury Park, I'll let Councillor Bennett Wake update on that because there's been little bits of movement.
Yes, so all the planting's being done, there's some lovely trees being planted, the mugger's being used on a regular basis, and now it's dry, the drainage appears to have worked, but we'll look at that again in the autumn or when it starts raining again. And for Range to meet Representative Smanser to use the rest of the money to get a gravel path from Bridge 34 to, it's where the old garages used to be at the back of Delamere Drive, but it gets really muddy. You've already got a bench there, but unless you've got really thick wellies on, it's really difficult for like older people or people in wheelchairs or with prams to get onto the towpath and have that little walk. So hopefully that'll tie in with our active travel and just make people's boots less muddy.
Thank you. 7.2 South Park Pavilion. Councillor Livingston, you've got to say.
Yeah, well, clearly things are advancing. We have carried out some structural surveys. The tree survey's been done. We've done the topographical survey as well. And we have today, just before the meeting, been presented with 5 alternative designs, which it's quite exciting. So the proposal is that we will review them in a couple of weeks' time. We've given some guidance to the design team in terms of what we expect to see. The major thing probably is that we're not making a lot of provision for a space for the park rangers or for the ANSA within the designs, and that we will provide for them separately. What it allows us to do is maximise the building for the use of the town and for events. So what I would look forward to a consultation with the public on the 13th of August as part of the Mayor's first public event. So whatever we all do is fingers crossed for the 13th in terms of the weather.
Thank you very much. 7.3 playing out, so there's a little bit of information in relation to that. Any other updates or?
We do have an update, don't we?
Yes, the playing out sessions are taking place on the 28th of July and on the 9th of August between 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock. And we now have the road closure notices. Hooray! So that can go ahead. And myself and Cheshire East Councillor Brian Puddicombe, we're going to be supporting the road closures using our sparkly traffic management qualifications. So it'd be really good to put those into action. And we've got plans to do more if those are successful, which I'm confident they will be.
Thank you very much. 7.4 is allotments.
Allotments are ticking over and doing well. All the invoices have gone out and payments are coming in, and the assistant town clerk's doing a great job of managing them. She's been doing inspections, which we haven't done for a while, and so we are now. So all going very well.
Thank you very much. 7.5 is street sports. So again, we've got the information of numbers for that. Just to point out once again, Councillor Thompson did note that one of the ones on the Burke crossing up to the Jasmine Park, we're looking at potentially looking at Bexlane playing fields. I think it's just a couple more formalities that need to be completed for that to move, and then we'll see how that goes on. Okay.
Can I just say, just make a quick comment on this, Chair? I think that first of all, I want to thank. We've had some new posters, haven't we, in the park about this, and I think that's helped a lot. And also, I'm really delighted to see how the numbers have improved in South Park. We heard earlier from the communications officer about how well Park Fit is doing, having returned, and it's good to see that street sports are also improving in South Park at the Mugger as well. But the numbers are good, improving. Pleased about that.
Thank you. 7.6 is Premier League kicks. So no reports there, just to note.
Yeah, just to note the update. I know that the assistant town clerk's been making sure, because there was an issue around potentially who was attending, and that they were all attending from potentially the same area. So she has made sure that all schools are updated and on the project and how it works and who they can refer.
So moving on, item 8 is street scene. 8.1 is street furniture. So we have got proposal. So the benches that the town council funded, installed, well used, as it says in the report. One thing that was being discussed at the Jubilee party was to have, they were thinking of having the Jubilee logo on each side. So we said, well, because the Town Council funded it, would it be possible to have Jubilee and the Town Council logos? So obviously it's been costed, so it's just under £350 to provide plaques for 9 benches. I asked about 9 benches. Is that what happens in the...
There's 10, but 2 already have the Jubilee plaques. So when you work it out, that's 1 out the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Anyone wishing to speak?
Is that to be proposed, or have we already agreed to that?
Yeah, we will need to decide on that. One thing potentially to think about, so the St Michael's Church did come to us for a grant of up to £10,000, and I think the total costings was sort of 6 to 8, including installation, thereabouts. So there potentially is money available from the original grant that was given already.
I mean, they're certainly well used. They're certainly well used on Saturday when there's been other events. And I think it's quite nice, personally, because when you go to a park, you quite often see plaques and memorial stones and things. I do it in Victoria Park when I go through there. We planted the trees and everything. And when I've shown friends and family around, it's quite nice to look at that heritage, that history of the town. So I'd be for that. If it's already been costed and we've got money in the budget, I think that would be quite a nice historical thing to do.
Because there's that formal proposal.
Yeah.
Councillor Wilson.
Yes, I second the proposal that we use from the existing budget, because Councillor Wilcox already advised us that there are funds still in the budget we made for this. I'm a great believer in putting a plaque on a bench or whatever to say that Macclesfield Town Council has made that contribution. We ask all our grant recipients to fully advertise that Macclesfield Town Council has given a grant for that particular activity, and in the main they do, and I think it's important for people to see, you know, what we are doing in the town. So I think that certainly I agree with the Macclesfield Town Council plaque, and the Jubilee one you know, makes sense because that was what the benches were there to celebrate. So I second this proposal.
Okay, so we've got a proposal and a seconder. We'll take it to the vote. All those in favour? Will abstain as the previous declaration of interest. So that's been carried. Was it the church that are organising it, or is it ourselves?
Probably us.
It's me.
Right. Okay. So there we go. 8.2. We've got a report from the Town Ranger. So to receive a note. Again, Town Rangers have been super busy, not only with Britain and Blue, but the Monday to Friday kind of jobs that they are getting on with. Looks like they've been well used as their time once again. And again, you know, if there's any other rock spots or areas of the walls that are looking and need a bit of tidying up, again, just an email over to the assistant town clerk, yes. So moving on, 8.3 is Middlewood Way lighting. Now, is this a fight between Councillor Wilson and the town clerk to give an update?
Well, the update I'll give is that we have paid for it and we are waiting for the report. And the report should have been with us. I would suggest that tomorrow I inform the Jane Traverse and just continue to say, you know, even when we've paid for it and we're given a timeline, that would be what I would say if that councils want me to do, just to keep them up to date.
Councillor Wilson.
Yes, and so it rumbles on. Middlewood Way lighting project. Disappointing that we've actually paid a significant amount of money to get a report from Cheshire East Council into the sort of lighting that's suitable them having decided the previous report they prepared for us actually didn't meet safety guidelines, which is rather alarming that the local authority doesn't seem to know what the safety guidelines are, but there you go. So yes, please do chase it, because I would like to have a Middlewood Way lighting installed before I die.
A long time yet.
I hope so.
Okay, so agenda item number 9, which is town centre regeneration. So 9.1, we've got the town centre and recovery working group, and there is a report just to receive and note that. Councillor Wilson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I mean, the Town Centre Recovery Working Group continues to go from strength to strength. We've been talking earlier on in the meeting about all the activities now taking place in the town centre and improving footfall in the town centre. All of them that we've talked about this evening, receiving grants from the town council to enable that to go ahead. The outdoor recovery group, which is the group that's looking at creating spaces, outdoor hospitality group, which is looking at spaces to create outdoor hospitality. And this evening, the space we paid for in the marketplace is very well used by people enjoying the lovely weather. And the outdoor hospitality subgroup meets next week. We're looking, one of the projects I'm particularly interested in is a similar project for Park Green. Also we'll be discussing, there's further funding available that Cheshire East have secured, and we've made a bid for the Prosperity and Growth Fund, I think it's called. You know, myself and the town clerk did look. We had about 30 seconds to make our bid and application, and so we did in fact make our application, make our comments about it, along the lines that you would expect us to do with the Town Centre Recovery Working Group, about the toilets and the plans for the town centre, etc. So, you know, I think that the Recovery Working Group and all the other activities we're linked in with, we've heard so much about this evening on our agenda, is going from strength to strength.
Thank you very much. So, item 9.2 is footfall mapping data. So we're going to receive another data report.
Would you like me to talk on it, Chair? So obviously the last few services committees I've been very vocal about how I'm conscious that the data didn't necessarily make sense, and it was a bit pointless if it didn't make any sense or didn't show us anything. So I had a meeting with Joe Wise, who's the Development and Regen Manager at Cheshire East, with regards to their data, and we drilled down into it quite deeply, and it was really interesting. There are a couple of ways that Cheshire East in particular record the footfall data. There is one specific counter in town, which is near to the entrance to the Grosvenor, and that literally counts as people walk past. So a person could walk past 2 or 3 times while they're in town, and that will count 2 or 3 times. There is also a wider counter, which is split into zones and has a clear boundary around the town centre. Now, once a person has crossed that boundary, that is then counted as their one visit, and it doesn't matter how long they spend in town, they're there as one person. Obviously, if people already live within that boundary, so for example, around Christchurch, which is quite a residential area, those people are already within the marked boundary, so they do not count as visitors. If they come into the town centre and go shopping, they are not counted as a visitor because they're already in town. So looking at the data that we've got, we are showing a year-on-year increase. That would be expected because obviously last year we were still in COVID restrictions and footfall would have been decreased. If we compare, if we compare April 2022 to April 2019, there is a decrease over that period. We're not entirely sure on the reasons for that. We would have liked to have seen an increase, but that's not happened. Daily visits, the patterns are very similar, dips at weekends, and the majority of footfall is actually during the week, which obviously I think is just people coming to town during the week shopping and people working in town. The figures that we've got as well, it also helps to understand around like the figures for Treacle Market. They show just over 40,000 visitors on a Sunday Treacle compared to a 70,000 visitor numbers on the Thursday prior to that. To all intents and purposes, that looks like Treacle Sunday is not doing very well. That's not the case. That comes from the counter, which counts the whole of the town centre. So you don't have footfall around the train station on a Sunday. You don't have footfall around the bus station on a Sunday because there isn't public transport. You don't necessarily have footfall in other areas of town. Wally Hayes car park's a little bit quieter at the weekend. So all of those areas pull the marketplace figures down a little bit. So once you understand that, you can actually see that it's showing a really good picture across town. We did look at Christmas, and I know obviously we've decided on the Christmas event now, but it did actually show, looking at footfall figures from last year, from 2021, and going back to 2019 when we had our traditional switch on event with fireworks and the Christmas tree, footfall was actually around 50,000 people for both events. Obviously one of those would have been 50, as Councillor Wilson said, 50,000 people at 5 o'clock in Marketplace. The other was 50,000 people throughout the day in the town centre, which is obviously better for our local businesses. So yeah, just like to fill you in on that.
Thank you very much. Country Town Centre free Wi-Fi. Sorry, Tom Brown.
I'd just like to thank the communications officer for all the work she's doing on this, as she knows I'm as interested as she is, and I think the pooling of resources we've done with our colleague Jo Wise at Cheshire East Council is really going to make a difference, because one of the things we have been able to agree is that we will in the future be able to also include Park Green and Sunderland Street in our data. And as I've already stated, I've got great ambitions for Park Green and Sunderland Street, I think, with all the stuff that's going on down there now. So thank you for being so tenacious about this, because it's quite disconcerting when you receive footfall data that shows something different.
Yeah.
And I remember you and I being in the event last year and looking around and seeing people there, and then seeing the footfall data and thinking,
it doesn't add up.
So it's when you get data that the instinctively know isn't right, you go on a crusade, to find out. So I want to thank communications officer for being so tenacious on this, because when we've got data, that data is so important that when we're looking at the Growth and Prosperity Fund and we're making for the bids for funding for our town, to be able to give that data that really is clearly showing that our events are successful and things like that, it's really important that these grants that come from national government require this sort of attention to detail on data for us to be successful. So I think it's a really good piece of work there. So I'm really pleased we're getting to data that fits in what we think actually happened on the day.
We're just eagerly anticipating the figures which should come in tomorrow to show us what Saturday was like. So as soon as I get those, I will share those with you.
Thank you.
So in light of us now using Cheshire East data and confidently can say we're both on the distribution list and getting them regularly, I will make moves to cancel the footfall data that we have, because we were keeping them both and we felt comfortable, and if we are now comfortable, I'll make moves to start to cancel our footfall figures, therefore saving some money.
Do you know how much we'll save for 10 o'clock?
We pay roughly around £7,000 for the free Wi-Fi and footfall figures, so not completely 100% sure.
The breakdown.
Yeah, there will be a saving. And it may be time then actually to look at other Wi-Fi providers, etc. So
Excellent. Economically as well.
So, tying quite nicely in, it's Town Centre free Wi-Fi data.
Yes, not really much to note, to be honest. It's fairly consistent, the Wi-Fi connection usage across town. We're looking at around sort of anywhere between sort of 23 and 27,000 connections over a month. Busiest time of day remains lunchtime, obviously. Connection time, you're looking at just over an hour to an hour and a half. So yeah, nothing really to note there that's any different.
Thank Number 4 is a town centre signage. Again, just something that would actually report.
Yeah. So with regards to the indoor market signage, I've obviously been chasing this up since we've decided to go ahead with this project. I've submitted detailed plans and costs and confirmations that we will look after it, that we will monitor it, that it will not be used for sort of advertising of businesses, etc., purely to sort of advertise council services alongside the indoor market. We have still had no definitive yes or no answer from Cheshire East as to whether planning permission is required. I am under the impression that if we are not specifically advertising a business, then we do not need planning permission. And we've sort of had one email that sort of says we can go ahead and do it, and one email that's a bit unclear. So myself and the town clerk did discuss this the other day, and we are going to go ahead. We have got permission from assets to do that, so we are going to go ahead with that. We have talked about creating the map, and I had initial discussions with an artist a while ago now, and we were talking the other day about producing that map. And we're all aware that there are consultations have happened with regards to the indoor market, and Cheshire East have yet to make any decisions on how that will affect the market, whether it's going to be a change in layout, whether it's just going to be a spruce up. So we're probably going to hold off on getting the official one done, just until we know what those changes are going to be. But I will start work on a sort of more basic version to put up in the meantime, and we can get the rangers to do that. In terms of the other elements of the town centre signage project, there was one with regards to signposting the town from the railway station. It's been brought up on a walk that we were all on, that people come out of the railway station and don't know where to go. Councillor Wilson and the town clerk have been made aware that the developers of Barracks Mill are actually embarking on a signage project to signpost from the railway station area into the town centre. So we're going to look at that together and sort of see what we can do to have our input on that. And then the final element was the Castle Quarter project. Now that the market signage is done, and now that we're sort of passing off the town centre railway station signage to somebody else, we're now going to focus on to the Castle Quarter bit as well. So that's the next stage for that one.
Thank you.
Yeah, so on the indoor market, Cheshire East own the asset, and they have said we can go ahead, therefore I believe we can go ahead. So their assumption.
Yeah.
Councillor Wilson and I did meet with Barracks Mill developer. They shared with us their ideas for signage.
Cedar Investor, who we met with, actually understood that point. And the part of this project is to actually enable people to get from the new site into the town centre and vice versa. And I think that, that there is some benefit in actually contributing to a project that can get people from there to here to improve the town centre access. And we did also raise the issue about them possibly thinking about providing a bus from the town centre and backwards and forwards. So I think, the development is going ahead, and I think we should do all we can to bring people who are visiting there into our town centre when they visit there as well.
Councillor Benjamin.
Yeah, I'd echo that, given the inconvenience they've caused to residents in Withyfield Drive. That's all I'm going to say.
For myself, just to add one thing that you did mention, Councillor Wilson, as I've been visiting parts of the UK, family and whatever, again I've seen free buses from town centres to out of town or not in the town centre, so it works elsewhere. Quite good, especially again as those that don't drive get the public buses to town, then they've got to change, get on another bus, can incur costs. So hopefully there will be quite a good addition if it comes to it.
No one asking, in my view.
So moving on to item 9.5 is community transport working group. Yes, again.
So, as established, or the principle of this was established a while ago, and was because of COVID, it didn't seem at the time appropriate to start implementing a transport potentially project when people were quite wary about using public or shared transport. So this is basically something we had talked about at full council as well. A proposal for the councils listed, Councillor Harewood, Jackson, Puttick, Edwards and Thompson and myself, to establish a community transport group, and which will report back to Services Committee or indeed full council if they come up with proposals. There is £100,000 in the reserves for community transport. So one of the aims will be, what can we do with those reserves to benefit the community and the town with community transport. So it's just a proposal for consideration to move this forward.
Thank you very much. Sorry, Councillor Paulson.
Please continue.
Yeah, I was just going to say, obviously, it looks like it's fallen to ourselves as Services Committee to look to set in this community transport working group up. Again, I do remember back in 2019, this is something that was thought of by quite a few of the councillors to be able to get people into town and back out, potentially when other public transport buses, etc. have ceased running. Councillors.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I mean, I think as we've heard already, this is a project that we did try to start as a new council back in 2019, and it was the full council on the 16th of March 2020 that resolved the outline point here about the establishment, and now we're being asked to extend that establishment. Actually, on the request that the councils have expressed an interest in being involved, which is very positive. We've got the draft terms of reference over LEAF, and looking at the draft terms of reference, they are very similar to the draft terms of reference we have for the planning working party, which actually did meet quite frequently at one stage because we were having a whole plethora of planning documents we were being consulted on, both the National Planning Policy Framework and also strategic planning documents from Cheshire East Council. And I see that the terms of reference have replicated you know, the sort of the structure we had there, and that worked well for our planning consultations. And so I'm happy to move the additional councillors to join the working group, councillors Edwards and Thompson, obviously along with the town clerk. And I'm also happy to move the terms of reference as outlined under agenda item 9.5.
Thank you very much. Anybody else want to speak? No. So I've got a proposal from Councillor Wilson. I'll do a second or so for that. Councillor Levinson. So all in favour of setting the committee working transport working group up? That's unanimously carried. Thank you very much. So agenda item 10, council identity and communications. Communications officer.
Could I just borrow your laptop, because I don't seem to have this part of the report. Okay, so social media continues to be really important for us. I'm quite prolific in posting, whether it's information about our own endeavours or whether it's sharing relevant and important information from other town centre community groups or organisations or from Cheshire East or the NHS, etc. Our Facebook followers continue to increase, an increase of 7% since the last report. Instagram, an increase of 5%, and Twitter, an increase of 11.5%. I'm not sure why there's lots of followers in there, but anyway. And I've included in the report sort of the figures from this time last year, so you can see exactly how much they have grown over the year. Key Facebook posts for April, biggest one being people really liked us letting them know how to report issues via the Cheshire East Fix My Street. Apparently not a lot of people knew that facility existed, and that's the sort of thing that we do like to remind people of. The other two sort of key things were the wildflower planting at the top of Westminster Road. We all know that people love to see that sort of thing and the work that our rangers do. And then we also had reach of over 3,000 for Have You Seen Our defib when it went missing from down at Park Green. So that's really good that people are sharing that and disseminating that information. May, the biggest post was when the town clerk informed everyone that Atomic Kitten were going to perform at Christchurch for the Jubilee. Obviously that was really well received by everybody. A lot of the posts for May were about Jubilee parties and the sharing of Cheshire's plans for South Park. In June, obviously we didn't have a full month at the time of this report being written, but 9,071 reach for a post regarding everything that we were doing for the Jubilee. So this included all of the parties that we had given a grant to, the additional small parties around town that were happening that we had been approached and we'd given funding to, but also our street performers, our phone boxes and our Jubilee crowns as well. Park Fit posts did extremely well in June. That was when we started to go back live, including a reach of over 7,000. And in the last 28 days from me writing this report, Facebook post reach has been 29, almost 30,000, with an engagement of again almost 30,000 and 159 new followers. So it just continues to grow and grow, and everyone still really likes my awful little Facebook Live videos, which are really embarrassing, but people seem to appreciate. Tweets again, the phone box painting was really appreciated. The 5K Your Way, which is the cancer part of Park Run, which Councillor Wilson's involved in. Wildflower Meadow, Jubilee parties, that sort of thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Health Officer.
Over questions from social medias. Councillors?
Yeah, just want to give a bit more information on our Facebook page. I'm doing my best to get us to as wide a reach as possible. And you can see from the Communication Officer's report that there's been 18% of increase in followers since I was elected. The week of the 18th of June, the reach was 1.3 thousand. The week of the 28th of June, the reach was 2.2 thousand. And the most popular posts so far have been Macclesfield, followed by Pride, followed by the Falklands Remembrance event, followed by Circus Star. So I'm doing my very level best to increase the number of followers, and so far so good.
Thank you very much. Yes, I think it was quite good that we decided, I don't know whose idea it was, for a Mayor of Macclesfield's Facebook page, but it's great for... Thank you very much.
Sarah started it.
It's great that
started it.
It's great that we can not only tell people what we do as a town council, but individual parts, whether it be the mayor or whoever. So yeah, no, it's great that we're putting that as well over social media as well. So thank you very much. Any other questions now? Okay, so final agenda item is 11, the date, time and place of next meeting. So the next meeting of Macclesfield Town Council Services Committee will be the 26th of September 2022, 7 o'clock at Macclesfield Town Hall. Thank you very much. So thank you very much for all those events attended, and again, whoever's watching, thank you very much for watching what we're doing as the Services Committee. Thank you.